Hello, my beautiful Sally. So, yo, I'm not gonna lie to you. We're just gonna make this like a random kind of ramble. Maybe do some soft spoken, but just ramble, chat about whatever comes to mind. Because we're gonna act like this is like a little, a little random get together. We're updating each other about life because we haven't seen each other in a long time. So, how have you been? How are you feeling? Talk to me. Um, I've been okay. I'm not gonna lie, lately, I've been a little emotionally overwhelmed, like feeling emotionally, mentally overwhelmed. I feel like that there's a lot of past emotions and wounds that are coming back up to be released, which is great, but of course, reliving and re experiencing those emotions and memories and triggers can feel very overwhelming. So that's something I've had to find the balance in releasing and dealing with, while also maintaining like my day-to-day regular schedule and doing the things that I have to do. I don't know. I feel like I really pressure myself. But let's just digest. Let's digest. Let me express because I feel comfortable enough with you to do so. So thank you for that. There's a kitty butt right there. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel very overwhelmed and I pressure myself because I feel that I'm not doing enough, even when I'm like trying my best. And I just feel like there's so much more that I could be doing, but sometimes I don't feel that I have the energy to do it, or I don't feel that I'm in the right mind space, or I'm just not in the right space in general to produce the things that I need to produce. And so I've been allowing myself to be okay with that. Sometimes we don't need to have all the answers and feel that we're 100% there and feel that we have to constantly be moving and producing and like, just doing something. Like, I feel like that's one of America's toxic traits. Let's talk about it. Constantly feeling like you have to always be working, always be producing, always be creating, like always just doing something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, either constantly working or constantly consuming. Like, I feel like we don't highlight the fact that there are moments where we actually need to just do nothing and simply exist. And that's it. And there's no more expectations. I feel like we don't talk about that enough. We don't push that enough, and it's kind of toxic because then when it comes to mental health, a lot of people overlook it, or we feel that it's not important, or we feel that we can just power through our emotions and overwhelming mental challenges, which is like, yeah, you can power through them, but at the end of the day, that's not really helping you. You pushing them down, you constantly ignoring them, you constantly telling yourself like, I'll eventually get over it, or it doesn't matter, or I just need to distract myself, or I need to focus on other things, or I need to do this and do that. It's like that initial problem. I don't want to say problem. Your mental health is not a problem. That initial trigger, that initial wound is still going to be there regardless of what you're focusing on, regardless of what you're putting your energy into, regardless of what you're consuming. It's still going to be there until you give it the proper attention and a proper love and a proper nurture and rest and healing that it needs. That is the process of healing. It is allowing yourself to accept what is and allowing yourself to feel it, to experience it, to fully stand in that energy and tell yourself like, okay, I don't feel 100% right now. I'm not feeling like myself. I don't know what direction to take. I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, or how I'm going to meet this deadline, or how this is going to happen, or how this and this and that. And that's okay. You just acknowledging that. You acknowledging that, hey, I don't have the answer. That is you already taking a step forward towards receiving that answer. Because sometimes it's like, we're not always gonna know what to do. We're not always gonna have the perfect answer every single time. And sometimes that's actually part of the process of you receiving that answer, is you not knowing the answer. Is you allowing yourself to feel what you have to feel. You're allowing yourself to release what you have to release. You're allowing yourself to explore your mind and your emotions and whatever is present, and that's okay. When we allow ourselves to do this, we are allowing ourselves to be human. Being human is not about being a working machine. It is not about being a consumer. It is about existing. It is about learning and creating and studying yourself. A lot of times we feel so inclined and just drawn to studying everything outside of our being and constantly trying to understand everything outside of us. But it's like, yeah, we can do that. That's a good part of this experience. But in order for you to truly connect with what is outside of you, you need to understand what is within me. What does love look like to me? How is love expressed? How does love feel to me? What is my version of viewing the world? How do I view the world? Like, you are the basis of everything you see. You are a mirror to everything you see. It's all about perception. We can both be standing in the same exact position, the same angle, at the top of the mountain or something. We'll both have the same perspective, but we won't have the same perception. One man's treasure is another man's. I mean, it's the chaos for me. One man's trash is another man's treasure. That's all about perception. Is that what someone might see as a good thing, someone else might see as a not so good thing, and we might be standing in the same exact position, looking at the same exact thing, but our mind is constructed to look at it differently based on where you are. So as much as you try to understand everything around you, you're not really going to truly understand and connect with it unless you understand, well, where is my mind? What space am I in? How am I viewing the world? Where is all of this coming from? Why do I perceive the world the way that I perceive it? And it takes time. And a lot of that is going through trials and errors, It's experiencing those aspects of yourself that don't feel so good, that aren't a part of who you are, that aren't a part of your truth, so that you can cross that off and be like, okay, well, this is not it, so let's continue to explore, Excuse me. When you allow yourself to take a step forward, even if you don't know what direction you're going in, you're allowing yourself to be open to receiving that answer and receiving that truth from you, because the answer is already within you. We just have to, clear out the little dust bunnies and all little things so that we can actually get to it and see it clearly. So I don't know, I feel like that's where I am right now. I'm someone who I constantly feel that I always try to control the outcome of things because of my fears and my worries. Growing up, I experienced a lot of change that was unwanted or I just had no control over, and I just kind of had to, why are they fighting? I just kind of had to just deal with it, get accustomed to it, and whatever, move forward. And we never actually stopped to talk about it or to truly understand, like, what's going on? Why is this happening? Like, how can I really adapt to this if I don't really know what the fuck going on? Like, so that kind of instilled this fear in me where it's like, every time something good happens or I feel content in my life, I start to overthink and I try to control the outcome of things, even things that I have no control of, like outside of myself. I try to control it, and if things don't go my way, I start feeling overwhelmed and anxious and all these crazy emotions. And that has been teaching me not only patience, but understanding that I'm not in control of what happens outside of me. And that seems like such a duh kind of thought, but it's something that we might feel that we understand, but then subconsciously we're still trying to control the outcome, So, I don't know, it's been a little frustrating because, again, I've always been that person where I set these expectations, or I just set this ideal of what things are gonna be and how they're gonna turn out and what I feel is best for me and what's gonna keep me in this comfortable position. So allowing myself to not have expectations and allow the world to present to me these infinite possibilities, it has been really strange for me. It's a foreign thing. When foreign things are presented and we feel or experience something that is new, it's going to feel uncomfortable, period. Even if it's something good for you, it's going to feel uncomfortable because we don't understand it. And so our body is not able to absorb it and process it through our brain in a way or in a manner that we can consciously understand and adapt to. So it's going to take time, you know. It's like when you buy new shoes, you on the outside it's like, okay, this look kind of nice, and then you put it on and you have to break it in and you have to get comfortable and then kind of set your footprint in there, right? That's how life experiences are. That's how healing is, I would say. 100% healing is like breaking in. My phone was about to drop. But healing is like breaking into new shoes. It's, you know, we might have these moments where we get excited. And then once we put the foot in, it's like, okay, I need to break into it a little bit. I need to get comfortable and I need to set my foot weight in it. Like, you know, like allow it to expand around my foot and kind of form and mold around me. And the only way to do it is if you're using the shoes, if you're walking in them. So when we want to heal a certain part of ourselves, the only way to heal it and to quote unquote break into it is if we're allowing ourselves to experience it, allowing ourselves to feel it, to fully embody it, you know. And something I've noticed and I've heard actually other people speak of is when you have some kind of wound or something that you need to heal and overcome, we might think that we already have because we're not around people, places, and things, or just spaces and environments that are going to trigger that wound. So we might think that, you know, it's long gone, I don't gotta worry about it. And all of a sudden we meet this person, or we're in this space where it triggers that wound and that trauma to come back up, and it's so sudden and we're like, the fuck. So it wasn't that, you know, you were doing the wrong thing or that it was already healed. It was like you weren't placing yourself in the spaces or being open to experiencing the experiences that are going to trigger those wounds so that they come back up to the surface. You know, we might ignore something. That's why I was saying, like, the more that you ignore something, it's not gonna actually help you, because what it's doing is you're just piling more on top of that already rotten base. And the more you pile on, the heavier it gets, and eventually it's gonna collapse and you're gonna have to deal with it probably worse now, right? Because there's more destruction and more things to figure out and heal and do. So I don't know, going through these moments of just feeling so uncomfortable and feeling fearful because I'm experiencing, or, you know, I'm basically forcing myself to experience new spaces and experience new aspects of myself, and pushing myself past that subconscious restriction that I've placed on myself because of the conditioning and because of the wounds and all the things, you know. It's kind of feels overwhelming sometimes. It feels a little lonely at times as well. And I find myself, like, as soon as I feel that uncomfort, I'm like, oh, I need to run to somebody, to something, you know. But really holding myself back, that's been the challenge. Where it's like telling myself, like, oh, I'm gonna stop you right there. We're not gonna run, we're not gonna react, we're not gonna look for something or someone to kind of fill that gap into us and distract us, because that's not what we need. We need to face our wounds. We need to face whatever's going on here. And yeah, so it's been an emotional roller coaster, I shall say. I've been crying a lot, which is so good, actually. It's a great way to release. Let yourself cry. If you haven't cried in a long time, I mean, it could be a good reason. You might be living like the best life ever, which, as you should. But, you know, don't ever hold yourself back from feeling those emotions, because it's okay. Especially to my guys out there. My guys, my men, my fellow masculines. You know, understanding that humans in general, period, the human race, we experience emotions. Animals experience emotions. Every living thing experiences emotions. Even trees and like plants and stuff, it is scientifically proven that they can feel, you know? So it's a common factor between every living thing. So you being a man, a woman, non-binary, transgender, whatever, it doesn't make you any less deserving of feeling those emotions. And just because you feel them, just because you express them the way that you feel comfortable expressing them, does not make you less than. Okay, so if you gotta cry, let it out and cry. If you feel that you're not okay, if you don't feel okay, that's okay. I'm sure we've all felt that way at least one moment in our lives. You know, the pains that we experience, these heavy emotions, these overwhelming experiences, it is the number one most common thing between all living things. It is what unites us. Pain unites us. Now, if we think about it, it's an experience that doesn't feel so good, but the outcome of pain is always positive in some way. You know, if we think about global pains that we've experienced, you know, murders and things that fall into that category, or just global catastrophes. In those moments, the pain was felt worldwide. It was felt by so many that it united communities, and it allowed us to find a common ground to help each other, to connect, to love, to support one another, to create this outreach of healing beyond our own selves, you know. So it's like, as much as we hate pain, as much as we don't want to feel it, as much as we don't want to go through this darkness, it is absolutely necessary. Period. I don't want to hear no arguments, no nothing, nada. It is absolutely necessary. If it wasn't for pain, we wouldn't be able to recognize what is good. What does happiness look like? What does happiness feel like? What does love look like? What does love feel like? You know, how do we express love? What is empathy? What is compassion? None of that could have been defined and answered without the experience of pain. And pain is not the equivalent to suffering. Pain is an uncomfortable or experience that manifests into emotions that are more lower vibrational, like sadness and anger and grief. That is pain. We turn it into suffering when we hold on to it, when we do not allow ourselves to release it, when we dwell in it, when we allow ourselves to simmer and just shrivel up in it, you know, that is when pain is converted into suffering. You turn pain into suffering. So just because you're feeling pain does not mean that your life is over. It does not mean that you're living the worst life ever. It does not mean that you're suffering in hell, you know, you're living life, you know, hell on earth type of thing. You might feel that way, but pain is something that passes. Pain is not something that lingers. The only thing that lingers is your own interpersonal suffering. So when you allow pain to sit, it will pass on its own. But when you hold on to it and you do not let it go, that's when it becomes a residing parasite in your body, mind, soul, and spirit, you know, and it just starts to consume you. It starts to consume your light. It starts to consume your energy, consume your spirit, consume everything that makes you you, you know, and that's how people get attached to these negative habits and addictions, and that's why people react in ways that are negative or very compulsive, like murders and just bad acts, you know. I don't want to say bad, but like just negative acts. it's not because that's just in their nature. It's because they've held on to some kind of pain for so long that it has consumed their true being. It has consumed their consciousness. So now they are reacting from a place of darkness consistently. And they feel that they don't have control over, how do I consciously notify my brain that, hey, these emotions are not me, even though they feel like it. Like, hey, these thoughts are a manifestation of these lower vibrational emotions. They're not me. How do I tell myself that? How do I act on it? It's difficult to do that when you're in the dark, when you don't have that guidance. And even when people who are in this energy, even when they are given the opportunity to be guided, it's still difficult to recognize that this is true light guidance, because they have no awareness of what that light looks like, because they are still in the darkness, because that pain has consumed their vision, because they're no longer able to express that natural, authentic, organic light being within them. And that's why I'm someone who, like, I feel I feel for those who are in prison and the criminals. Like, yes, they have acted in a way that, it manifested in probably destroying someone else's life or taking someone else's life. But we don't know if that's ever in their true nature. I don't feel that evil is in anyone's true nature at all. Evil or pain and darkness is seen everywhere. It is a natural aspect of our being, because everyone is capable of expressing pain and to that extent. But a lot of us don't see that because we're used to allowing it to pass, or we're used to allowing our light to take that position instead of allowing the darkness to take that position. Not everyone has that kind of control. Not everyone has that kind of awareness or conscious power over their mind. So, like, this conversation has gone out of nowhere. But my girl, we can keep talking about this. Look, I have a little phoenix, what are they called? Thing. My friend gifted this to me. It was beautiful, isn't it? I feel that my soul really connects to the phoenix energy. I feel that I've been through a million fucking deaths. A million deaths. And every time I come back, it's like, okay, we're renewed. What's next type of thing. But yeah, like, these are things we should talk about. We should enforce this. We should highlight this. That even those who are consumed by the darkness, is never too late for you. Sometimes you have to be surrounded by energies and people and places and things who lead as the light example for you. Okay? There are many options. There isn't just one path. Okay? So, this was our little chat. My phone is about to die. But if you're interested, like, type down some topics so we can sit down and talk about it, because I do this all the time. Literally, I sit and talk to myself, or I go on TikTok live and I talk about stuff like this. So if that's something you're interested in, join the Slowly community. Subscribe. Follow my TikToks, and we'll connect further on. Okay? I love you so much. Peace.